Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, recorded live at River Road Studios. Today's show is brought to you by Get Healthy Now with Candace.
Get healthy now, not later, not before, already now, and not tomorrow, now, right?
Okay, right now.
If you'd love to do a consult and look at ways that you can get more healthy in your life, that you can improve your current feelings of wellness and lifestyle, give me a shout. You can look me up at gethealthynow.com or gethealthynowwithcandace.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Occupy Medical.
Occupy Medical is changing. We have
What?
Yes, I know it's really weird, but I've always in the past said we're Street Reach, and we're still doing Street Reach. We're just doing it a different way. We have a place in Springfield, and we also have a clinic that we have opened and have been doing for the last couple of months in Eugene, and that's the Street Reach part where we're specifically working with people that are unhoused. The clinic that we have in Springfield is a building, and we have two suites of it. And one part is for hygiene supplies and food for people that are struggling. They can just come in and get whatever they need. And then we have the other part, which is the medical part with the herbal part of it, and then the counseling as well as the integrated health part. And that is just because we have a place, just like anybody that's coming out of being unhoused to being housed, they find all of a sudden all of these survival skills that they needed to have time for. They don't need to have time for it anymore because, they got four walls around us, and that's the same thing for us. So it's been great to be able to burst out and do a whole bunch more projects. So
how can people contribute?
Well, we are a 501c3, and that is there's a bunch of information that we have on Facebook and Twitter and on our website at occupy-medical.org.
All right. And we're now, our next sponsor is Mud Paw Design House. It's, formerly Hunter Creation. This is the first time we're talking about it over the air, if you will. So Mud Paw Design House is a company that Candace and I run and own, and it is graphic design and website design. If you're looking for a website that will match your branding of your printed materials, we can help you out. Or if you have printed materials and need a website, we can help you out with that too. So let us know at mudpawdesign.com.
That's a mud paw, like a dog paw. That's muddy.
Pawdesign.com or mudpawdesignhouse.com.
That's cute.
Right. All right. And how about you, Sue?
What about me?
What do you bring to the table?
What do I bring to the table? Well, I've got two. Should I just talk about the two things real quick?
Sure.
I'll talk about Patreon first. So I mentioned before about Occupy Medical, and I do a lot of stuff just during the week working with people that I cannot bill them. I just can't. They don't have any money. But being a community herbalist, the work, I've been doing this for so long, the work just has to be done. So I am asking for people to donate to my Patreon account so that I can continue working with people. And with that kind of sponsorship, that means that I could also continue training other folks that want to open up clinics like we have. And I've been doing that, and I've just been kind of doing it for free. So we need community herbalism in this country, and I am willing to be the voice of experience. So I just need support from people. And you can go to my Patreon account at www.patreon.com/Sue Sierra Lupe.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yep. That's just one of them.
Do you have any more? Do you have any supporters already?
So I do. I have a couple of wonderful supporters that have been brave enough to put in for one of them as a one-time supporter, and then the others are monthly supporters.
Nice.
Yep.
So all right. Did you have something else?
Very much. Yes. So there's also Sierra Lupe Herbal Consulting, and that's at gmail.com, and that is my business that I do herbal consulting, and that is for people get charged per hour for that one. So that's that. They get the same kind of service, and I can come to people's houses and do things online. And that's available. So you've heard the genius. Now you can have that in your life too.
All right. Ace High Heat Graphics, custom imprinted shirts and caps and everything else that you can wear. They're specializing in event wear. So if you are an herbal organization and you are putting on a fair or a festival and you need to have 200-300 shirts done, that Ace High Heat Graphics can help you out and save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
The other thing that Ace High Heat Graphics is doing is also doing branded wear for companies. So for within the company. So if you are a herbal organization and you have employees and people and volunteers that you want to have them all wearing like the same shirts, or they would like to support the company by purchasing a shirt, that's another thing that Ace High Heat Graphics does.
We're in fact we're doing a company store for a large client right now, so their employees can go there and buy their shirts. We did a promotion for that company, and all the employees liked the shirts so much that they wanted to buy them for workwear.
Nice.
So they said, "Can you help us with that?" So we're setting them up with an online store.
That's really cool. And with the political season brewing up, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would want their slogans written on their shirts too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. And finally, the Herbal Nerd Society, for which we would not be able to do any of this.
Right.
Right.
Yes. We are thankful for the Herbal Nerd Society.
When I don't want to come here some days and record because I got other things to do, I just remember there's a bunch of Herbal Nerd Society members paying me to get here. In the plant world, we tend to focus on whole plant medicine almost exclusively. A subset of herbal practitioners, however, have been drawing on tools of our nutrition. As soon as I did it, I knew I was going to fade away. In the plant world, we tend to focus on whole plant medicine almost exclusively. A subset of herbal practitioners, however, have been drawing on the tools of our nutrition specialist counterparts for more targeted natural healing and prevention. Today we're talking with Yaakov Levine, nutritional therapy practitioner and nutritional health coach at Natural Grocers in Eugene, Oregon, about Berberine for digestive and brain health. Now here are your hosts, Candace Hunter and Susie Lupe.
I'm Candace Hunter.
And I'm Susie Lupe.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. Oh, welcome back, Yaakov. You are just the man I want to talk to today.
Always great to be here, and always great to be that man everybody wants to talk to.
You are. You're wonderful, and you're so knowledgeable. And I figured I should just ask. I recently decided to try doing a sort of modified ketogenic paleo diet, and it's a little challenging. You've got some tips for me, I think.
Yeah, it can be. You've lived most of your life running on sugar.
Oh, heck yeah.
Right. And when you transition to a paleo diet, you're transitioning to carbohydrates that are at least more nutrient dense and less inflammatory than when you transition from basically a ketogenic diet is a paleo diet with different macros.
Right.
Where you're having low carbs, low to moderate protein, and high fat. Mm-hmm. And so it's there's a transition that your body has to make. And we in our society we have a epidemic of diabetes, but even more of a problem is that lead into diabetes is insulin resistance.
Yes.
Where our bodies are so bombarded with carbohydrates and sugars that our body is, insulin is the hormone that delivers sugars to our cells to use for energy. So we're finding we're eating more sugar, we're more tired, we're gaining weight, and
never satisfied.
And never satisfied, right?
You eat your supper, and 10 minutes later you want to,
right.
10, 20, 30 minutes later, you're hungry again, or you're desiring to eat again.
Well, we've all been to Thanksgiving dinner. I often ask in classes, raise your hands if you've been to Thanksgiving dinner. I always get a good chuckle because it's, something everybody does. And so that's probably our most carbolicious meal that we have all year.
Yes.
If you think about all the versions of stuffing and potatoes and pies and cakes and
the candied yams.
Candied yams. My mom would add pineapple and marshmallow, and she'd make a baked yam thing, and then like about 3 hours later, we're like sitting around in a stupor. We can't get off the couch, can't talk to Aunt Margaret, and we can't watch the football game, and
we blame it on the the and say it's the tryptophan,
and that's all
has something to do with it. Yep,
and that has nothing to do with it. So, we've had so many carbs. we were to take, let's say, Sue, and take all of her blood out right now.
Oh, don't.
Oh no, let's not. But what if
We'll
we
put it right
did?
Okay. You're just
We're
borrowing
taking
it. Oh,
we're
that's
taking her blood
fine.
out, and we're going to measure how much sugar is in her blood. How
Right.
much would you guess? How many teaspoons would you guess sugar is in her blood right now?
I have no idea. She eats a lot of dried fruits. Probably a lot.
Yeah,
Like, let's
eat
try.
cake.
Let's try like 5 teaspoons. I'll say
Okay.
5 teaspoons. That's just
Actually,
over a tablespoon.
Most people have
right?
about 4/5 of a teaspoon of sugar in their blood.
Holy cow!
Like all in.
4/5.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So if you have a meal
that
like
is actually a lot.
Thanksgiving dinner is going to be maybe maybe a couple hundred grams. Where's that going to go?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so our body has a mechanism so that it's dangerous for us to have sugar
Right.
more than that amount. So our body has mechanisms, and we have this really loud, powerful hormone, insulin. Says, okay, this is going to go. So we'll store some of that sugar will get stored in our liver as glycogen. Some of it gets stored in our muscles as glycogen, and the rest will store as fat. And we'll turn off any fat burning that we're doing. We'll turn off any burning of any other carbohydrates that we have until we get that all leveled out. And over and over again, when we do this, our cells can't do it anymore.
Right.
And we become what's called insulin resistant. And one of the tools that we can use is a alkaloid from many of our favorite herbs called Berberine.
Nice.
So it's an
We like
alkaloid
berberine.
from Oregon grape, golden seal, barberry, coptis.
Yeah, it's
So,
the one that makes everything all yellow, right?
Yeah, it was it's been used as a clothing dye, and it's been used for a long time by traditional herbalists for digestive support. And but we're learning that there's a lot of other ways that we can benefit from it. So for somebody transitioning to a lower carb diet and wanting to get their cells to work better, it can be a real helpful tool to support that the cell's receptivity and for cravings and for energy.
So one of the first things most herbalists are going to ask is, why not just use the Oregon grape or the barberry?
And that's always the first question I ask. And but sometimes we need a therapeutic level. So that's when we talk about standardized herbs as opposed to a whole herb, and that's it's really in the herbal world, it's really a controversy.
It is.
And
it is.
some folks say that's turning an herb into a allopathic medicine. And but for example, if all the studies that are done on this alkaloid for the different functions that it supports us, use 500 milligrams of berberine, how much Oregon grape do we need to get that amount, and how could we even tolerate that amount in our digestive system?
Right.
What would that do to our gut flora?
Right.
That's
a lot of tincture.
So
a lot of tea.
I have some examples here. Yeah.
Or mead.
Or just chewing on bark.
I'm pretty sure if you put it in that much, that would be too much alcohol.
Too much alcohol?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
That would be kind of
counterbalancing. Yeah.
But when you look at some of the popular supplements, and I have a few of them here on the table, one of my favorites has the in a couple of capsules, you'll get 500 milligrams of the berberine, but you're also getting a whole Oregon grape.
Nice.
In with that.
So it's giving you some of the whole plants. You get some of those constituents, but
and, some of the benefits traditional. It's berberis or these herbs are traditionally bitter herbs as well, supporting digestion and supporting our brain shift from fight or flight to rest and digest. And so what I typically do, and I suggest other folks, is if you're using a capsule with this kind of herb or any kind of herb, it's really good to get the taste of that herb, especially with bitters. So I usually open up a capsule, empty one of the capsules into the bottle full of capsules and shake it up. And then when I swallow one of the capsules, I'm getting that bitter constituents as well. My brain's getting that message, oh yeah, that's what's going in.
Nice.
And, so it's a great way to do that.
So is that
I like that.
Is that a pro tip then?
I would say that.
Pro tip.
It's a pro tip.
That's a pro tip. And, we also find that there's some really exciting properties of or berberine, that it helps us to activate an enzyme that is called AMPK, and it's called often our metabolic master switch. It regulates how energy is produced and used in the body. And a lot of times when you get up and go, got up and went, this could be something that can support you. It increases glucose uptake and fat burning for energy, mitochondrial biogenesis. And when you're talking about doing a ketogenic diet, one of the main reasons we do a ketogenic diet is to support the health of our mitochondria.
Yeah.
With our typical, what I call, and I know you don't have this, have this kind of meal, but with our Happy Meal diets,
Right.
they still have Happy Meals?
Yes.
They do, yeah.
They
Heard
do.
somebody
I've
just
heard.
talk
Gosh,
about
I was
it.
hoping you wouldn't be able to answer that.
I've
Yeah,
heard.
that's one of my trick questions I ask folks, and but when you're having a Happy Meal diet, you're constantly getting those carbohydrates, and our mitochondria, which is the little energy producing organelle in our cells, gets atrophied and can't produce energy.
Ooh.
And
That's really bad.
when we cut back on the carbohydrates and change our fuel to more to more fat, we can retrain the mitochondria. When we add to that intermittent fasting, we can even supercharge that rebuilding of the mitochondria. So again, a lot of times when we're trying to be healthier, it's our behavior modifications we're doing, but not just there's no magic pill that'll do it all for us. But sometimes the constituents in herbs particularly can be our friends and help to guide us.
Mm-hmm. That's brilliant. Yeah. So that can help me in this. I'm not personally, I'm not on a fully ketogenic diet, and that I'm not yet like tracking all the grams of sugars. I don't tend to eat a whole lot of sugar. I don't eat processed foods for the most part. And the few that I do are typically low in sugar. And so I decided I would just go with a grain-free diet and start there. And
that's a wonderful start. Yeah.
I have to tell you, the first few days were very rough. Yeah.
It's it's a really strong addiction.
Yeah.
I've worked with folks with alcohol addiction and tobacco issues as well, and it's not any different.
Yeah,
carbohydrates not any different. We're there's receptor sites in our brain that feel really good when we have those, and so it takes a while to retrain our brain to be okay. This is it's going to be all right.
Yeah. The first I think it was like three or 4 days. I think it was 3 days. I was voraciously hungry. It didn't matter how much I ate. I was just ridiculously hungry the entire day. And the first day was the worst. The second day was bad. The third day was a little better. And then the fourth day was completely gone. Yeah. And I haven't had
quite liberating, isn't it?
Yeah. I found that also a lot of the things that I had been craving, the craving was gone. I had noticed that, like, I went to, I think it was a bakery with someone. I can't remember. I went to a place where I was exposed to pastries. I didn't eat any. They were there. My body didn't ask for any or want any. I had absolutely no desire. My mind was like, oh, can't you remember what it's like to sit there with a nice pastry and a cup of coffee? I'm thinking, I haven't eaten a cup of coffee with pastry since I was a small child. Come on. But my mind was trying to play out the scenario, but my body was like, oh, no. It wasn't really grounded.
Where I go for coffee, I typically would, I have a in Creswell where I live, we have a coffee shop that's kind of like my second office, and they always have my favorite oatmeal scones from New Day Bakery, and I haven't had one of those in a few months, but I just wave to them nicely when I go there and enjoy my coffee with some heavy cream, but the cravings go away. Where my office is at our Natural Grocers store, when I look out my office window, just down the ways is the sign for the cookie aisle. And there were times in the past for me where I could hear them. They're calling me. Yes, cookies are calling me.
Yes,
cookies and crackers. They're in the health food store. They're healthy,
right? But, they've got to be.
So it's been very liberating for me to be on a low carb diet and just having more and more energy. as I rebuild my my old mitochondria.
Yeah.
So, you know,
One of the pieces that was very surprising for me was that for the first time in a majority of my life, I have been comfortable drinking milk again. I drank it when I was a kid, but I started to have digestive upsets and I just didn't feel well. And I decided I must be lactose intolerant by the time I was a teenager. And I tried, the lactates and the other things, and they helped. But I eventually just said, I'm just not going to bother with dairy products. I would have really hard cheeses like Parmesan, but that was pretty much it. And over the past few years, I haven't even had as much of that. And then making this change, now I'm noticing, I'm like, my body's tolerating dairy super easily. I have no problems with it. It's awfully nice because I can actually have like a cup of hot cocoa that's just, some milk or whole milk or with some cream in it. And then I typically don't use sugar in my cocoa. I just make it with just the cocoa. And it's nice. It's really nice. It's much more comforting.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of milk sugar, so that's giving you some sweetness.
Yeah.
And for my whole life, I was from probably a young age, I was a coffee drinker. It was part of our family culture, and I always drank a little bit of coffee with my milk and sugar.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, I should try to do that differently when I was trying to have a little bit less sugar. So I transitioned to having coffee with heavy cream. And I found that, wow, there were all these flavors in the coffee that I didn't even know were there. And then one day I got to my trusty coffee shop, and they were out of heavy cream.
Oh.
And it was like, but I was really craving. And when I drink decaf coffee, I don't really need it for the caffeine. I just love the taste. I love the bitterness of the coffee. I think as I get older, it's always probably an indication my liver is needing support. But I'll have that cup of coffee. And so I went in and I said, what am I going to do? Gosh, there's no heavy cream. They were very apologetic. I said, give me a decaf Americano black.
Yeah.
And add a little ice cube in there to cool it off a little bit.
Yeah.
And wow, it was an amazing experience. it was all these flavors I didn't know were there, all these different notes.
Yeah.
I'm not a connoisseur that, fruity, whatever.
You don't get hints
of this
of
and
grapefruit
notes of that, right?
and blueberry.
But just
what coffee are you drinking?
just enjoyment, and it was great. So I use that a lot with the people when I'm teaching and with my people that I'm doing nutritional health coaching with. Is try foods maybe without this or without that. Try to taste what they're really supposed to be like, and you might find a new favorite.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and actually coffee is another thing that I drank a lot of when I was a kid because there's a lot of family culture. And I always admired my elders and they would sit around drinking their cups of coffee. And I started drinking mine young with a heavy dose of, a little bit of coffee and a lot of milk and sugar. And by the time I was in adolescence or so, started noticing that I was doing a lot of shaking. And by the time I was, but I wasn't. And I also noticed that if I tried to not drink coffee, skip a day, I would do a lot of shaking and I would crave it all day and feel miserable. So I just drank it through high school. And at the end of high school, I went off to college and I decided I've got an addiction here. I need to stop. So I did. I stopped cold turkey while I was moving to college. I figured that would probably keep me distracted, and it did, and I was fine. And I flirted with it off and on over the past couple of decades, always finding it was a bad thing until very recently when I found, wow, I can actually drink coffee and it doesn't make me shake. And it actually tastes good. And that's also kind of amazing.
Well, as a good herbalist, you're probably more working on your adrenal health. And,
I have
there's a lot, that's probably a piece there. And
yes.
sometimes, some foods can be tonic for us that we don't, that are not obviously tonics.
Yeah.
And coffee and caffeine, and that can be certainly got plenty of protective constituents. And it could be a tonic for you at this time. And at sometime it could be problematic. I had an unusual, about midday yesterday, a cup of coffee, caffeinated coffee. Right. And one of my coworkers came up to me middle of the afternoon. She said, "You had caffeine, didn't you?"
Uh-oh.
I said, how could you tell? I was just a little bit more animated than I usually am.
Nice.
Well, a couple of things that you'd said at the beginning that caught my attention was the fat burning.
Fat
And
burning.
why am I not taking this with my battery of supplements, Candace?
Yeah, I can't.
It took me a solid year and a half to finally act on Yaakov's very intelligent, persistent, pushing to get me to just even start taking the probiotics daily to help my allergies, which now, after doing it for a year, he is 100% right. It worked very well.
That is amazing. All the stuff that,
Yeah. So,
Well, when we're reacting to pollen's not a harmful substance.
Right.
So it means something in our immune system is not up to snuff, and so one of the ways that we look at supporting our immune system is supporting our gut health. So it's great that you did that, and over and over again, I don't have it's all empirical, but over and over again, I've seen that with people I've been working with over the years. Is they'll come see me for a follow up, and they'll say, it's been interesting. I don't have allergy issues this year.
Yeah.
Because typically when working with somebody for nutritional therapy, we always have to start with their digestive system. If the digestive system's not working, I've learned from my Ayurvedic teachers, they tell us this trilogy of, litany. You are what you eat, and you are what you digest, and you are what you don't digest.
Yes.
So it's really a key to any other. True. If somebody comes to see me and they're wanting support for heart disease, well, let's look at what you're digesting and how your digestive system is impacting your cardiovascular system.
Yeah.
So.
I know the berberine is a really good bitter. What are the kind of things that you like combining with it?
Combining with it, greens, leafy greens. My salad that I'm going to have when I get home is going to be a spring mix without any kind of sugary salad dressing on it. So I'll get that bitter taste for that. So I go to that first. The coffee that I mentioned earlier, I like to add other tastes besides bitters as well. My tea that I'm going to drink this evening will have hops for the bitter, and then I'll have some hibiscus for a little bit of a sour note. And that'll be that's kind of my dessert. And it's amazing how much. It's a mixture that I've been drinking for a lot of years, but it's amazing how great it tastes when I'm not reliant on a sweet dessert or something like that.
Yeah, I've been noticing bitter isn't as bitter. Like I used to think just artichoke tincture was super bitter, and now I'm taking it. I'm like, oh, it's actually it's almost a little sweetness to it, So
I usually have a bottle of some herbal. One of our, we have many choices for herbal bitters. I usually have that available to have before meals and 20 minutes before a meal. A lot of folks will rely on taking enzyme supplements and or hydrochloric acid supplements to boost what their body's not producing. And my approach is always for myself and with folks that I'm supporting, to try to retrain our bodies to do what our bodies can do. We have an innate intelligence to do that. So we typically, that's why we traditionally have the green bitter salads as our first course.
Right.
Helps us to remind our body to be producing enzymes, to be getting ready, but also setting the table, so to speak, for digestion is to get us from fight or flight mode, the go mode that we're all in. We're multitasking. Right. We're doing 20 different things, eating and whatever, and we need to shift to rest and digest. And that bitter taste also helps with that transition from that sympathetic mode to parasympathetic mode, and because a lot of people these days are living such stressful lives, even if it's a good thing. When people say, I don't have any stress. And I look at you're doing like this, and this, and this. Yeah, I love everything I'm doing, but it's still stress.
Yeah, it is.
Even if it's a good thing. And but when we're in that mode, fight or flight mode, we're not going to be producing all those the enzyme, the stomach acid, and things we need so we can digest our meal and get those nutrients out of that really healthy food that we're eating. These folks that are get all their organic produce at the store or have their own gardens or go to the farmer's market, and then they're
Eating
they're
on the
pooping,
go.
they're pooping out
Yeah.
nutrients and not getting
Yeah.
all the benefit of that. And they're coming to see me. They run down. They don't understand why. And I want to get a
Right.
multivitamin. I said, well, what are you eating? And wow, you're getting a lot of nutrients.
Yeah.
And then we look at lifestyle and ask those kind of questions. And they really need to be. It's just such a piece. It's just an important piece that we miss.
Yeah.
So if a bitter taste will help our brain to shift, send the message that it's time to eat, and we'll be able to digest. Then berberine can be one of those. Hops is another favorite of mine. Not necessarily in the form of beer.
Right.
Like I grow my own hops and I dry it and use it for teas, or get one of the tea blends that we have available, and it's a real helpful way to do that, and often can be a real key to success for folks to be healthier.
Hops is kind of an overpowering taste, so it seems like you have to put something in there with it.
Yeah, the formula, the mixture that I have some motherwort, has some valerian, has hibiscus. Usually add a little bit extra hops and a little extra hibiscus to it. Hibiscus has been during the summer as well, when it's starting to get warm. Hibiscus, that's a great cooling herb.
Yeah, or it's a
So
refrigerant.
I sleep so much better when I have some hibiscus tea on a hot night. We don't have air conditioning in our home. So just give me some hibiscus tea and a fan, and I'm a happy camper. I can do any temperature.
Nice.
And other ways that berberine can support us is it lowers fasting glucose and insulin levels, and postprandial glucose, that's the glucose level after eating, helps to lower that. Hemoglobin A1C is a marker for long-term blood levels. It helps to lower that level, and also importantly lower our triglycerides. And that's one of the challenges when we have with our higher carb diets is higher triglycerides, not from the fats we're eating, but from all the carbohydrates we're eating. And they've done a lot of research to find that berberine is as effective as the medication metformin, which is very commonly given as a diabetes drug for prediabetes or insulin resistance and diabetes, adult onset diabetes, or type diabetes 2, it's called now, because not necessarily waiting till adulthood. And also reducing the insulin resistance, which contributes to PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so it can be really helpful for that. One of the issues that folks have, they come to see me that I'm taking metformin and it's helping me with my blood sugar levels, but it's really wrecking my digestion. And berberine can be used without that negative
It won't
effect.
wreck it and actually improve your digestion.
It can support digestion, exactly. So it's really great when we can get benefits from an herb.
That is
in
nice,
this case, a constituent of an herb, instead of a medication that maybe is not supporting our health.
Right. That's brilliant. It's also probably a lot less expensive and a lot easier to come by.
It is. It is. It is. It's certainly not an expensive item in the store. And
you don't need a prescription.
You don't need a prescription.
Walk right in
there's one caution that I suggest to folks. I always suggest really to look at any kind of interactions if you're taking any medications. There are in our liver we have some different pathways for breaking down medications and other things in our system. The CYP450 is one of the pathways, and berberine can slow down that process, so it could potentiate medications, cardiovascular, blood pressure medications, things like that. It's always good to work with your healthcare provider. Yeah,
it sounds like if you're on one of those types of medications, it would be wise to start the berberine slowly and have several labs done in the process until you reach a level where you're confident that things aren't changing.
Yeah. And along with the blood sugar regulating support that we get from berberine, it's also found to have a positive impact on cardiovascular health, on the ratio of LDL to HDL, our cholesterol level.
So those folks that have gotten the message from their doctor that they need to lower their cholesterol, maybe
this could be a helpful tool, along with lifestyle and diet.
Yeah.
which is always an important part. Again, lowering triglycerides, and as a protective constituent, it supports the health of the endothelial, the lining on the inside of our blood vessels and arteries. That the more protected and the smoother that passageway is, the healthier our blood pressure is,
right?
Healthier our cardiovascular system is. So it
helps keep the cholesterol from sticking.
Right. Yeah. There's no, and again, it suppresses the inflammatory items, cytokines that we produce that then cause that production of cholesterol.
Nice.
So
nice.
cholesterol is our internal Band-Aid that we produce when we have some kind of injury. Years ago, I had an experience. I had back in 2000, I had cancer surgery. I had kidney cancer. And so it's pretty traumatic. I had some, a lot of things moved around and cut on and whatnot. And a couple months later, I had my annual physical, and I chose to just go through with that, even though I had been through been through the ringer medically for, just before that. And my regular physician was away, and so his practice partner was there and checked, we did the blood work, and my cholesterol was like through the roof. And he said, we got to get you on a statin. Your cholesterol's really high. And so, typically my cholesterol is perfect, and I don't have any familial high cholesterol or anything like that. But, I just had this major surgery, and, my body's producing more cholesterol for the repair process.
Yeah.
So I'm not there yet. I'm not done with that process. And he said, he dug deep back to medical school and said, yeah, you're right. And so about 3 months later, I had it checked again. It was back to the normal level.
Nice. It's amazing the intelligence our bodies have for healing.
Yeah, huge.
I mean,
it's huge.
The body really knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
If we could only just get out of the way.
Right. That's the thing. We get into trouble. We get into trouble because of that. But there's more.
There's more.
But wait.
Well, I was going to say we haven't talked a lot about brain health, and I know Berberine you've got something there. You got some goodies for me on that.
Yeah. Well, brain. Yeah. That's really important because use it or lose it, right? We need our brains to work properly, and so one of the things that we're always looking at is how do we support the health of our brain cells? Mm-hmm. How do we support maintaining our that important gray matter that sits over our shoulders? Our brain is a small part of our body, uses 20% of our oxygen, large amount of our energy that we have, and we were told I don't know. I learned this in school. I don't know if you all learned this, that we lose brain cells and then we don't come back. They're just gone forever.
Yeah.
Well, according to science, that's really not true.
Yes.
We have the abilities. Our bodies are just amazing. That not designed for a brain cell. Of course, we have potentially deterioration as we get older, and we get wrinkles and all that kind of stuff. But we can with proper diet and lifestyle, we can support the volume of our brain cells. We can support the neuroplasticity, that adaptation that our brain cells go through, so that they can adapt to our stressful lives and things that are happening in different situations. And berberine is one of the nutrients that helps support that neuroplasticity.
Nice.
So it's a great tool to maintain. As we get into those golden years. I was going to say,
so for folks who are concerned about things like Alzheimer's and dementia, this would be a really good, fairly easy thing to get started on.
It would be good support, but it doesn't replace, cutting back on the carbs and the foods that contribute to inflammation, the Happy Meals, the donuts and all those kind of things that I know none of you around the table are eating, but a lot of our society does that. So we can't replace that. Plus, supporting our brain health, there's so many factors. There's EPA and DHA that are in fish oil that support the health of our cell membranes in our brain, and our whole body, but particularly in our brain. And that type of fat, that the omega-3 fats, support the fluidity of the cell membrane, while the healthy saturated fats we might get from like coconut oil support the structure of our cells.
Nice. And that's so important to have the right fats.
And all those cells have to work together. It's not one cell does the whole thing. It's a teamwork. It's a whole team. When we look in the mirror and we see our body, the visual of our body, we're seeing billions of cells that are working together. So we got to
Right.
take care of it so they can continue to do that.
Right.
Without
Right.
that cell fluidity, they can't do that. Lifestyle-wise, puzzles, crossword puzzles, Sudoku,
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
Those of you that are listening to this podcast, as you're learning something new, you're supporting the health of your brain.
Yeah.
It's kind of
That's
a
a good
magical
one.
thing.
Yeah. Well, I personally am a proponent of throwing away the speed dial and using typing the phone numbers and remembering the phone numbers for people.
Yes, Siri.
Longhand.
I'm sorry, but
I
don't
I
make that
do
many
it-
phone calls. But I just ask Siri.
I do it for my key ones. I
Yeah.
remember the phone and have to keep reminding myself of the numbers, partly because I figure if I don't keep doing that, then eventually I won't be able to remember anybody's phone number.
And
So,
an
it seems bad.
important piece as well for supporting that neuroplasticity, along with that berberine and healthy diet and not too much sugar, is getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we can learn a lot of things, and if we're not sleeping, we're not going to store it away. At night while we're sleeping, that filing system is working and storing the what we learned in the hippocampus, and so using berberine and eating our healthy foods, healthy fats, healthy proteins, eating all of our protective vegetables will help to protect the volume of our hippocampus, so we have some place to store that. The file cabinet never gets too full.
Right.
We can always put new things that we're learning.
Just keep making the file cabinet drawers larger.
Right.
Well, what other kind of things do you enjoy talking about with berberine?
That's again, the main things could be the blood sugar balance and that neuroplasticity. Triggering that enzyme called AMPK is one of the ways that we trigger that AMPK. That's our kind of our master switch for our health in general. One of the ways we do that is with exercise. So for those couch potatoes out there, or folks that are not getting the exercise you're wanting to get, instead of shitting on yourself about that, you can add berberine and get some of the same effects you would be getting. Mimic some of those effects metabolically for you that you would be getting from exercise.
Yeah,
So
and that actually, if you start having those, you might actually feel a little more energized for.
It does
maybe
kind
taking
of
a
work that
stroll.
way. Yeah, I had one of my crew members in the store tell me that. Said, "Yeah, I've been kind of lazy. Everybody really works really hard in the store, and it's a physical job. Filling shelves and doing all that kind of stuff and working with customers, but not getting exercise was really important to this person, and he felt like he had, after using the berberine for a while, he felt more get up and go, and seemed to be benefiting. So it's great to get that kind of feedback, and it also berberine also supports a balance of the feel good hormones in our brain.
I could definitely use those.
And so being in a better mood, grumpiness goes around. It's
everything you've said, I'm like, why am I not taking this?
Well, you brought a selection of different products. Can you tell us about what each of these are and the differences between them?
Yeah, they're relatively the same. So typically berberine, that's alkaloid, is going to be from, most common probably will be Indian barberry, which is Berberis aristata. And but it's also found in Oregon grape, and Enzymatica is a progressive company, and they produce theirs from from what they say is the most sustainable way of doing this, and they use the Berberis vulgaris seeds. We think of it as the bark coming from the bark or the roots.
Yeah.
So this has been new to me to explore that, and so it's very sustainable, and each capsule gives you that 500 milligrams of the berberine extract, and
that's what we're starting out. That's what we're looking for, is about 500
that's
milligrams.
when the studies that they've done have been based on that.
Okay.
So that's really helpful. We have a combination of berberine and curcumin extract.
Oh,
Curcumin's the
Popular.
constituent in turmeric that supports inflammatory balance. It has a lot of the same benefits supporting It's used to support metabolism and brain health as well. So it's a real combo, really good combo.
Yeah.
And that was the first way I was introduced to using berberine, was using this combination. Because who isn't using turmeric in some form these days? If not in a curry, but it's certainly the sexy nutrient of the decade.
Yeah,
and really beneficial. So it's really a great 1-2 punch to support all these things we've been talking about today. And
supports the liver. And
liver support and body's inflammatory balance. Inflammation has been connected to every disease we have as a modern society.
Yeah.
So any way we can support the body's modulation of that inflammatory response. We have so much back to fats we have in our diets, along with our carbs, so many fats that contribute to inflammation. A lot of the processed foods and the salad dressings and things that folks have typically in their diet are high in seed oils that are high in omega-6 fat. And omega-6s aren't necessarily unhealthy for us. Eating your sunflower seeds and is a good thing. But when we're having the concentration of those oils, we're having an imbalance. Back when we were hunter-gatherers, we had typically a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats.
Yeah.
And typically these days, probably 40-20, to 1 omega-6 to omega-3. So we're always fighting a losing battle with inflammation. It used to be that we could just have, eat some sardines once in a while and some salmon and eat our vegetables and wild game and roots and berries. And we didn't have the diseases that we have now. There are societies still that do that, and they don't have heart disease or diabetes.
Right.
The Catawbans that are in Papua New Guinea, they can, it's interesting as a paradox. It's a society of chain smokers, but they have the balance of the fats that they eat, and they're not eating processed foods, so they don't have all these diseases that we have that are rampant in our society.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Well, I guess we better start working on our diet, folks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have one question for you.
Yeah.
I know, like turmeric, it's a very drying herb.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the golden seal is kind of drying, and Oregon grape is drying. These are very drying as whole plants. Do you find that when someone starts taking berberine, do they need to do something to moisten things up, or does it not quite work the same as when you're taking the whole plant?
Well, if we're eating our healthy fats and we're staying hydrated and eating plenty of plant foods, which bring a lot of moisture, which we should be doing whether we're using berberine or not, we should be able to stay in balance that way. And often, a tie into that, into doing following a ketogenic diet or a lower carb diet, is that one of the ways that our body holds on to electrolytes is with the carbohydrates that we're having. Mm-hmm. So we end up not holding on to carbohydrate electrolytes as well.
Right.
So that can be dehydrating, because the electrolytes, the trace minerals in our diet, deliver the water to our cells.
Yeah,
and we talked a lot about cellular health earlier, looking at our healthy mitochondria. So focusing on getting our trace minerals in whatever best way we can will either trace mineral formula. I'm not saying to go out and buy a jug of pink Gatorade, or lime green or whatever, some other unreal color that they are. But to make sure you're getting that, really healthy sea salts or real salt from Utah. There's a great book by James DiNicolantonio, The Salt Fix, which talks about the root of a lot of our cardiovascular disease is our low salt diets. And
interesting. Yeah.
he's a research pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
And half of his book is actually the footnotes of the research that he did, and it's a really good read. We have that available in the store, and so I've been focusing more and more. That maybe why I personally don't feel a drying effect of those two herbs is I've been focusing more on my electrolytes balance, and one of the things that I use is a old-fashioned kind of mom's formula called Soleil. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
We might have talked about that in the previous podcast.
Refresh my memory, because I know that's one I keep thinking. Every time you talk about it, I'm like, I've got to go do that.
Okay, this is real complicated. So you take a quart mason jar with a plastic lid.
Okay.
And add about a cup of that salt that we talked about, Himalayan salt or real salt. I like real salt because there's a little bit more iodine in it. And fill the jar up with water and shake it up.
Okay.
So far,
so good. We got some salt water here.
Right. And then what you do is, the next morning, you mix it up in the evening when you first do that. You get up in the morning, you'll notice there's a layer of salt in the bottom.
Uh-huh.
So you know that water is fully saturated and is holding as much trace minerals and sodium as it can.
Right.
Fully saturated. So you start your day with a tall glass of water. I usually do about 20 ounces with a couple teaspoons of that.
That's not too bad.
Of the Soleil. You don't really taste it. It has a little bit of a salty taste. And you start your day off with a nice alkaline beverage. Most folks don't drink a lot of water overnight.
Right.
You can tend to wake up being dehydrated. It helps you to get rehydrated. And then wait a little bit and do it, your morning ablutions, and you start your day off. And I know for myself, one of the stumbling blocks I had to be having a healthier diet was chips.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one.
We have, in the store, we have a whole aisle of chips.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
there's
hundreds of different kinds of chips.
Yeah.
Calling to me as I'm leaving the store
for
my drive home to snack on while I'm eating. And what I found is I by having my trace mineral uptake back up to where it needs to be, I don't have that attraction to the chips.
I think I might need to really actually move on this time. It's only taken me 9 months since you.
We do things when it's the right time for us. Everything has its right time. It works better when we do it when we're ready.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
So again, that recipe is a fourth cup.
About a cup.
A cup.
It depends on
salt.
The salt, but typically about a cup will leave you a residue at the bottom.
Okay.
You always want to make sure there's still some. If you get up in the morning and it's all clear, add some more and then try it next day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's usually about a cup for a quart, and because it's salt, and you don't want to use metal, so using a plastic mason jar lid. And what I do is just simple. I have a rubber band around the jar with a plastic spoon, and a rubber band, so it's ready to go. And just get up in the morning. I feed the cats first because they yell a lot if I don't feed them right away.
Yeah, they're demanding.
And they're a lot sweeter when I feed them, the demando cats. And then I have my, sit down and have my my water and just start my day off really good. I had to get some blood work yesterday, so I was fasting. I said, well, I didn't ask if I could have salt, so I didn't have any. And I didn't feel as much energy that morning. I noticed that a little bit. I have some in my office that I had later on, but.
Yeah.
But
so do you take it just once a day then,
or once a day?
Okay, so you can just do it. Yeah. Just do it in the morning.
If you're working out in the garden, and I know you all are gardeners. Yeah. You're working out in the garden and you're sweating a lot, you can have some more.
So it could be a good substitute for the Gatorade before you do your workout.
Yeah. When I've read other research by the same scientists that developed Gatorade at the University of Florida. Uh-huh. For the football players, they were having problems with football players. They were starting in August to train for the season.
Goodness, yeah.
And there was 100 degrees, 100% humidity. They were dropping like flies.
All right.
And so some of the scientists involved in the university did some research and came up with a Gatorade. That's where they got the name Gators from the Florida Gators. And knowing the other researches that they've done, I know that they wouldn't have intended that result.
Right.
With all those artificial colors and all that sugar.
No.
So it could be a good replacement for that to just add to your water bottle.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be brilliant. And a lot of times you can get other similar electrolyte mixes in little packets. And
This is a lot cheaper.
yeah, as I say, those add up in price, and it's a lot of packets
Right. Exactly.
everywhere. Yeah,
She's talking about me.
Yeah.
Now, I did buy my packets at the grocers.
Well, yeah.
Natural Grocers. I know.
Natural
I've
Grocers,
go there.
yeah,
so
yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
place to get it, and that's a great
Yeah.
that's a great alternative as well. But
I like the flavor.
Well, and if it gets you to drink it, it's, I'd rather have you drink it than
The
not,
interesting
so.
thing, though, is if I fill up a bottle of, my 22-ounce bottle of water, it takes me 2 days to drink that.
well,
And then I put the electrolytes in it. It's gone in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know why I can drink that more than I can the other.
try a
probably-
squeeze of lemon juice in your Soleil water, and maybe that
Yeah.
might be enjoyable for you. It might help you get that down.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Can't
gonna,
have to get that water down.
It's important, we should be. It's really a key. I remember we've talked again,
Yeah.
over and over again today about the health of our cells, and that's a real key
Yeah.
piece. The water is an important part of our blood volume, our cell health, and if we can keep ourselves healthy on a cellular level, it doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I tell you, this time I'm going to take less than a year to get around to actually acting
I'm
on
going to
this.
check on you.
Well, you probably should.
I'm going to have her do it.
But I'm going to actually do it because last year I did start with the probiotics. You told me I started it right at the very beginning of allergy season, and you said now, it's probably going to take every bit of a year before you really notice a difference. I noticed a difference last year.
Or this year.
And then this year, I've noticed a remarkable difference. Last year, I noticed allergies were a little bit better.
And this has been a tough season in the valley here with allergies.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
lot of
watching other
folks.
people going through the red eyes, everything, and I'm like, wow.
You know what to tell them.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to tell them, go see Yaakov.
Well, you've also written a thing on salt, an article on salt that we put on our website. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Those links will be on the website, and many of the things that you have mentioned here we'll have in our show notes, and people can just click on stuff and go right into find out more information about the stuff that you've talked about.
Great.
Is there anything else you want to mention? Well, we got you held hostage here.
Well, just there's wherever you're living, and check out the event schedule at your Natural Grocers. There's each of our stores has a full-time health coach on staff that offers free classes, and also available to do classes out in the community, and also available for free one-on-one health coaching. And so wherever you are, call your local store.
Use those resources.
And use those
Use those,
resources,
yeah. Definitely.
I highly recommend it.
Wow. And how do people get a hold of you, Yaakov?
Yeah, for me, I have an email. It's nhc.eu@naturalgrocers.com,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just call the store and reach me there as well.
Wow. Thank you very much for being here and all the wisdom that you've poured into our ears again.
My
So
pleasure.
kindly.
Always
Appreciate it.
always my honor to get to talk to you all.
Oh,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. So,
All right.
folks,
As always.
put an herb on it.
The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies